It'd be odd if like we're like, you know, in our late 80s or something, if we're lucky enough to get there and like seeing maybe a new like interpretation of like the 11th Doctor or the 10th
I thought you were
Doctor.
if it's the 10th Doctor, it would still be David Tennant.
Yeah, if it's like, yeah, they'll be wheeling out David in a wheelchair, but like what if it's like Matt Smith or like Matt Smith bought on Wish, you know, like I would be sat at home going like, what on God's green earth is this? Like, you know, like this would just be, I don't know how I'd feel being such a huge fan of a Doctor and it happening, you know.
Yes. I don't think they'll do it. I think you guys may have actually touched on this in another 50% episode. I think Ada might have brought up the point that I think they only did it because it is the first Doctor. Like that is an integral part of the show, and that's why they had David Bradley in there. I think David Bradley's a fine performer. I really enjoyed that performance.
Agreed.
Definitely have problems with the script in Twice Upon a Time and some of the characterization. But I think they've only done that because, William Hartnell was the first to bring it to our screens. So I don't see that trend continuing past David Bradley. If they do, then they've got to do it for all the rest of them. Like, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
That's the thing.
It's weird.
I think the idea of recasting Tom Baker is sacrilegious.
Oh,
but they don't see the same thing with William Hartnell. But I do agree. I think because he is the first Doctor, it's different because there's so much you could do with that because they were the first one to leave Gallifrey. There's so much storytelling there that's untapped that you just want. So, yeah, I hope that is the case, that it's kind of just like they'll replace Hartnell and it's supposed to be honouring, but I hope it continues to be honouring and not exploitive. I don't know.
Yeah. I think there's like a certain wriggle room as well because of An Adventure in Space and Time. Like that kind of, for me, worked as like a bit of a natural transition. That's sort of where I sit with it.
It's a smart idea to do, I think, what they did with, like, we had already, been used to him playing William Hartnell and the Doctor, technically, in the, the documentary movie. So, I think it's an interesting thing they did, and I think it's smart. And obviously, he just came back a couple of months ago in Power of the Doctor. Yeah. And it felt normal. Yeah. It felt natural.
I gasped.
Yeah, I gasped. I wasn't expecting it.
That's another thing as well, where they show him first, don't they? And that's like another sort of thing of him being the first Doctor. So it's
hands
up
him
first.
Doing the
I obviously, like, I think, we just said that about Tom. I think, like, if they try and do it again, I think it would be like borderline really offensive. Yeah. Because you're also being like, okay, now that actor's gone, bring in the new one. Yeah, it's like, woof, like, maybe slow down a little bit. Just respect what was done,
Hang on. I mean, yes, I agree. But let's find this random scenario where they find this random actor that we've never heard of. They are a spitting image of Tom Baker. They have the exact same mannerisms, facial. Like, it's the second reincarnation. How would you feel then?
I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't know.
It would just really depend on the story. Like, what story demands the fourth Doctor?
True. True. That's a valid point.
Where I kind of sit with it. The only one that I wouldn't mind, and I know Big Finish haven't done this specifically, but the whole idea of casting like the relative or the descendant, because I know Sean Pertwee said he's not interested at all in doing it, but because he looks very similar to John, right? I think.
Yeah.
And so that is like another thing where I'm like, oh, there's kind of a nice honouring side if he ever turned around and said, I'd do it. And I know Liz Sladen's daughter is playing Sarah Jane in Big Finish at the moment, isn't she? And I think that's kind of sweet. I don't really have a problem with that.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
Well, they did that with the Sopranos movie because James Gandolfini died from the TV show, and his son Michael Gandolfini played the younger version of himself in the movie.
Right.
So there's like he plays younger Tony Soprano, and the movie is set in the past. So that to me works perfectly well. And obviously they kind of are like the splitting image of each other. Yeah. So there is a way of doing it, I think. But I think you're right. I don't think it's necessary at the moment.
I don't think they will.
Like, we have to explore a 15th Doctor at the moment. Like, it's like, and it's
we've got two Doctors on the way.
We've got two Doctors to explore. One we're kind of familiar with. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, depends how you look at it. But it's like, I think we got to focus on like the future right now. But I think it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting idea. We'll see how it keeps going.
And if you want to look at a past Doctor that needs more, Joe Martin. Just, give Joe Martin more stuff if you want to do that kind of thing.
Joe Martin, Paul McGann, there are...
Yeah.
There are doctors who I'm sure would, we're waiting on that Matt Smith, David Tennant, spin-off.
Don't
that
get me started.
Aiden knows is coming out,
Any day now.
I'm just waiting on that announcement to come out so I can give Aiden some humble pie,